Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central here in Kent, Ohio. Coming to you today in the same old way. Let's see what we got for you today. Today we got a proverb from Mauritania. Proverb of the day is, ashes fly back into the face of him who throws them. Ashes fly back into the face of him who throws them. So keep that in mind, right? If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones either. You might want to think about that one. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. All right. Meanwhile, let's move on to the poem for today. Still coming out of Mudcloth Roots. We got a few more days with Stajabu and Sanana. And what do we have here? We've got here. Boy, it's hard for me to pick which one I wanted to read. I picked one already, but then I see this other one on the next page. I'm like, boy, I could go with either one of these. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll go with, no, wait a minute. I think I did that one already. Let's go with the one here, Battles to be Fought. This is by Stajabu. All right, so here we go. Battles to be fought. Mankind's thirst for war seems endless. Battles to be fought. Battles to be won. Battles on the football field. Battles with real guns. Battles on the tennis court. Battles in the law course. Battles on the golf course. Battles playing billiards. Battles playing cards. Some battles are won easy. Some battles are won hard. Battles on the big screen. Some even win awards. Battles in the conference room. Offense, defense, strategies, competition, struggle, rivalries. To be the best, to be the lead, fuels the present war machine. Battles on the television, drug wars, bank heists, gang wars, street fights. Battles to be fought, battles to be won. Battles on computer games, battles with real guns. Mankind's thirst for war seems endless from the cradle to the grave. So many ways to take a life, so few ways to save a life. From battles to be fought. Interesting. Stajabu seems to go right along with our story of the day, which is the trial of Dedan Kimathi from Kenya, East Africa, by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. And I know I don't know how to say the other person's name, but I'll give it a shot. Misere Gite Mugo. Okay, that was my shot. Okay, if somebody could hail me up when I'm not on the doing the live stream and give me an idea of how to actually say his name properly, really appreciate it, because I've never heard anybody say that person's name before, and it's kind of an unusual spelling, etc. So I'm not even sure what language it's from. But meanwhile, let's carry on. Let's see. Where did we leave off yesterday? Yeah. Okay. We left off here about the huge trench that the people were once forced to dig by the British forces so as to cut off the villages from the forest was still visible. Among the group that stopped by the roadside to talk to us was a woman who had once been Kimathi's. Wait a minute, where'd it go? Oh, who had once been Kimathi's pupil at Karunaini Independent School, and some 4 or 5 other. Dang, I keep losing my place. And some 4 or 5 older men who had known Kimathi since childhood. Had we too come all the way to see where Kimathi was born? From them, we learned a few factual stories, as well as 1 or 2 conflicting legends about this great fighter. For instance, it is generally assumed that Kimathi fought in the Second World War. And people have tended to assume that that was where he learned his military skills as well as his skills in making guns. Kimathi never fought in that war. He evolved his brilliant guerrilla tactics and his enormous organizing capacity from the needs of the struggle. Karunaini people were proud of their son. They talked of him as a dedicated teacher, the committed organizer of a theater group he named Gichamu, as a man with a tremendous sense of humor who could keep a whole house roaring with laughter. They talked of his warm personality and his love of people. He was clearly their beloved son, their respected leader, and they talked of him as still being alive. Kimathi will never die, the woman said. But of course, if you people have killed him, go and show us his grave. Show us his grave. She said this in a strange tone of voice, between defiance and bitterness, and for a minute, we all kept quiet. We went back to Nairobi, turning over the words of those who had known Kimathi. Had they themselves not shown us where he was shot and captured? Had they not told us that Kimathi's mother, although still deranged, was once allowed to see him in prison? Had they not told us about Kimathi's last testimony to be smuggled out of prison, that the struggle for Kenya's total liberation from foreign domination and oppression should continue until the wealth and the land was returned to the people of Kenya? More than just a flag, thank you. Why then the sudden hostility when one of us raised the question of Kimathi's death? But there was also fire and enthusiasm in our hearts. We would try and recreate the same great man of courage, of commitment to the people, as had been so graphically described to us by the people who had not known of our coming. An even more important spur was the realization that the war which Kimathi led was being waged with even greater vigor all over Africa and in all those parts of the world, excuse me, where imperialism still enslaved the people and stole their wealth. It was crucial that all this be put together as one vision, stretching from the pre-colonial wars of resistance against European intrusion and European slavery through the anti-colonial struggles. Note that he's talking about European slavery in East Africa. So we're talking way on this side of the continent, not anywhere near West Africa. Okay. Through the anti-colonial struggles for independence and democracy to post-independence struggle against neo-colonialism. This would be in the spirit of the woman who told us that Kimathi would never die. As source material, Karate Njama's Mau Mau from Within became a very valuable guide. Here was a man who had fought and lived alongside Kimathi, giving us a completely different picture of Kimathi and the quote-unquote Mau Mau. And the Mau Mau War, from what colonial writers had left behind in their works, like Henderson's The Hunt of Dedan Kimathi, Aldous Huxley's A Thing to Love, Ruark's Uhuru, and Something of Value, to name only the most obvious. We agreed that the most important thing was for us to reconstruct. Where'd it go? Imaginatively, our history, envisioning the world of the Mau Mau and Kimathi in terms of the peasants and workers' struggle before and after constitutional independence. The play is not a reproduction of the farcical trial at Nyeri. It is rather an imaginative recreation and interpretation of the collective will of the Kenyan peasants and workers in their refusal to break under 60 years of colonial torture and ruthless oppression by the British ruling classes and their continued determination to resist exploitation, oppression, and new forms of enslavement. In this, we believe that Kenyan literature, indeed all African literature and its writers, is on trial. We cannot stand on the fence. We are either on the side of the people or on the side of imperialism. African literature and African writers are either fighting with the people or aiding imperialism and the class enemies of the people. We believe that good theater is that which is on the side of the people, that which, without making mistakes and weaknesses, gives people courage and urges them to higher resolves in their struggle for total liberation. So the challenge was to truly depict the masses, symbolized by Kimathi, in the only historically correct perspective, positively, heroically, and as the true makers of history. And that was written in Nairobi, August 1976. Now he gives some acknowledgments. He goes to a whole cast of characters. There's a bunch of people. I'm not going to read off the whole cast of characters. We're going to skip that because this is a play, by the way. And we're going to go to the courtroom, the opening scene, and we'll read a little bit of the first movement. Opening scene. You're in a courtroom. There's a white judge presiding. Near him is seated a fat, important-looking African clerk, fiddling nervously with papers. Kimathi is chained in the dock. Guarding him is Waitina, a European district police officer, and two African KAR soldiers, heavily armed. The courtroom is overcrowded. Africans squeeze around one side, seated on rough benches. Whites occupy more comfortable seats on the opposite side. So you're getting this idea about segregation here, right? Dead silence. The judge says, Dedan Kimathi, son of Wachiuri, alias Prime Minister or Field Marshal of no fixed address. You are charged that on the night of Sunday, October the 21st, 1956, at or near Ihururu in Nyeri district, you were found in possession of a firearm, namely a revolver, without a license. Contrary to Section 89 of the Penal Code, which under special emergency regulations constitutes a criminal offense, guilty or not guilty. Kimathi remains silent, yet defiant. I may warn you that your silence could be construed as contempt of court, in which case I could order that you be sent for a certain term to jail. Kimathi remains silent. There's murmuring in court. Judge hammers on the bench. Silence in court. I'll repeat the charge. Dedan Kimathi, you are charged that night of Sunday, October the 21st, 1956, at or near Ihururu in Nyeri district, you were found in possession of a firearm, namely a revolver without a license, contrary to Section 89 of the Penal Code, which under special emergency regulations constitutes a criminal offense. Guilty or not guilty. Silence for some seconds. Then sudden darkness. Darkness reigns. Darkness. The cold, black darkness. Does that make you scared? It should. Distant drums that grow louder. Oh, no, that's not. Distant drums that grow louder and louder until they culminate in a frantic, frenzied, and intense climax, filling the entire stage and auditorium with their rhythm. the intensity of drumming eases up somewhat to accommodate human voices. Twilight. Loud singing by a crowd of peasants. Their voices combine aggression with firm determination. Note that the peasant singing should also enact the flashback of Black people's history that follows the song. Tutanyakua, mashamba yetu, tupiganie uhuru wetu, na tukomboe elimu yetu, tutanyakua viwanda vyetu, utamaduni ni mashamba yetu, damu na jasho zatiririka, tutakomboa udongo wetu. A shot in the air, overwhelming darkness, drums and voices fall silent. Through the silence cuts the chilling scream of a person, followed by groans and more screams. Whiplashes are heard falling. Chika, chika, on human skins. Another loud, agonizing scream. Ah! Abrupt silence. That's where we end for today. All right, you know our program? This is Doc Ock at noon and 9. Hope I was coming in loud and clear. We'll be Black here tonight at 9. And if you miss us then, check us tomorrow. Same time, same place. Same live stream. That's right. Coming to you live from Black Facts headquarters.